it seems like week after week that the NFL has been posting of the number of players who have been voted by so many of the players in the NFL for the top 100 list, and it seems like Christian Gonzalez has made the top 80 in the NFL list. We'll talk about it right now. What's going on, guys? It's your boys DTN, your boy Andy, and Austin, and we're back with another edition here of the NE Patriots Talk channel. And I want to say, this week for me, it's been really stressful when it comes to like physical labor. I tried to do this live stream immediately when it came out, but because I had so much IRL crap, it was really hard to find a good day to do a live stream. So here we go. But how are the rest of your boys' days so far? I would say week in general, since we haven't chatted in like a while.
I know. Austin, go.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a busy week. I've actually been trying to get like a side business kind of started, revolving around sports cards and whatnot. So
There you go.
stay tuned for some of that. I'm gonna have like a TikTok channel and TikTok store opened up and stuff like that. Other than that, I mean, been doing well. Ready to talk some Christian Gonzalez.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, working out, it's working outside in July. It's hot. It's not fun. I do get paid time and a half on Sunday though, so I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of nice. But it's been more or less a busy week. I mean, we had a couple of days where we were dead today, but a couple of days where we were dead this week, sorry. And then, this upcoming week, I'm going to be away from Sunday for 6 days, the 20th to the 25th. I'll be back on the 26th. That's just an FYI for you guys. But yeah, it feels like it's been forever since we were chatting, positions and positional rankings and positional grades. And obviously that was fun. But, it's going to be, it's going to be a fun little chat tonight about Christian Gonzalez, aka Gonzo, whom I think is a top 5 corner, but that
first Patriots player to wear number 0. Well, so yeah, before I get into my little shtick, I just want to say that if it wasn't for my work schedule, it would have been a whole different story, because as you all know, I just got a job, and it does require working overnight, and yeah, my sleep schedule has been a huge mess, as I would say, because I have been taking naps in the morning, and I would say it was really unpleasant. But at the end of the day, we're here discussing some Gonzo. And before we get started, guys, please make sure that you smash the like button and hit subscribe. It's completely free and helps support the channel. And throughout the show, please post in your questions and comments in the YouTube chat. We would really appreciate that, so we can hear your thoughts and reactions, and maybe some of your questions about like Gonzo in general, or maybe the cornerback position itself. But you can look at some of these previous live streams to get a gist of whatever the heck we're talking about. But let's talk about Gonzalez's background before we get started with the whole gist of him being on the 100 player list. But we all know that Gonzalez, before he was a transfer to Oregon, he started playing. Let me get his background story if I can. It would be easier, because we all know he was drafted by the Patriots with the 17th overall pick. We traded down with the Steelers to piss off the Jets from getting Broderick Jones because they needed a left tackle. And basically, he started off playing as a wide receiver and cornerback at the Colony High School down in Carrollton, Texas. He grew up in the Colony, Texas, and he was rated a 4-star prospect as a cornerback and wide receiver. So he played for the University of Colorado, so he did play for the Colorado Buffaloes. However, he did not play for Deion Sanders. He played for someone else. This was before the whole Deion Sanders, Shedeur Sanders, and Travis Hunter thing. But during his time in Colorado, he started every game as a freshman. He had 25 tackles with 5 pass deflections. And then as a sophomore, he had 53 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, and 5 passes broken up. But then this is where he had the potential to be the number one, the first round pick, I would say. No, the first rounder, I would say. He did transfer from Colorado to play for Oregon. And he was first team all Pac-12, which was, I think it's now, I would say discontinued because I think Pac-12, all of the schools in Pac-12 are now part of like Big 10 and Big 12. But yeah, he had 45 tackles, he had 7 pass breakups, he had 3 interceptions, and all of these stats made him first team all Pac-12. And so he forgo his remaining 2 years of eligibility and then entered the 2023 NFL draft. And so he was Dane Brugler of The Athletic ranked him as the top cornerback available in this draft next to, if I'm not mistaken, there was Devin Witherspoon. There was Emmanuel Forbes. And there was Deonte Banks in that draft. So those were like the 4 top cornerbacks in this list. However, for some oddball reason, people thought that he would be the second quarterback taken on in the draft because the best, I think, was Devin Witherspoon, who wound up to be with the Seattle Seahawks. Great move on them. But surprisingly, Commanders made a stupid decision of drafting Emmanuel Forbes because we all know who the coach was for the Commanders.
Ron Rivera and Forbes. I saw a mock draft. You guys might remember this, Austin, especially you. I remember seeing a mock where he went to us in the second round. He was Forbes was, I mean to say, widely billed as a second round pick. So when Washington went with him over Gonzo, I was like, okay, Belichick, make their loss be New England's gain. And I don't need to tell you guys how frustrated I was with a lot of Belichick's offensive draft picks. But pulling the lever for Gonzo at 17 when not a lot of people expected him to fall that far was, needless to say, a wise move.
That's one thing about Belichick is, yeah, you could hate on him for all of his offensive decisions, but that man did not miss when it came to defense, drafting defense. Yeah, I was just going to build upon Emmanuel Forbes. I mean, I would almost compare that to the Cole Strange situation with us, where it's literally a guy that everybody projects, okay, slam dunk, you'll get him later in the draft, and we're taking him way above, value. So, yeah, just all around shitty situation for the Commanders there.
Yeah,
I mean, and they're probably, I mean, they got Jaden Daniels now, but they're probably wishing on defense that they had a Gonzo at CB1, because Daniels, their losses last year were on their defense, not their offense.
Yeah, I think they just need to find a supporting cast behind Marshawn Lattimore, because he's definitely a good corner, but you need 3 solid corners to really have a chance in this league.
Or 2 and a safety.
Did you think back in like 2023, imagine if Gonzalez was off the board, did you think that we could have gone like a Broderick Jones, I would say, considering that at that time we have zero clue of what we're going to be doing on offensive tackle, even though it's non-related?
I would like to have gone Broderick Jones. He was mocked to us in the first round, but Belichick, being Belichick on offense, would have traded down and taken a special teams blitz.
And I think that,
I honestly, and that's only half a lie.
Yeah,
we did trade down in 2022 to take Cole Strange, after all, and hardly anybody knew who he was.
Yeah, at least that the quote guy did, even though we hated him for his draft misses and free agent misses, he actually did a good job of pissing off the Jets, because Broderick Jones was technically their guy since they have zero clue what they're going to do on offensive line. Then when the Patriots traded with the Steelers, so the Steelers take Broderick Jones, the guy that the Jets wanted, and instead the Jets got another defensive player in Will McDonald out of Iowa State, I believe. And yeah, they have one of their better edge rushers. But if we were to look back, I thought that Christian Gonzalez fell into Bill Belichick's lap. I just think that Belichick doesn't get the credit for drafting Gonzalez. He basically fell into our laps, just like how.
No, and we traded down to get him too, which was a surprise. I mean, a lot of mocks had him going to the Raiders. I believe were they in the top 10?
It was either it was between Las Vegas and Atlanta.
Las Vegas, Atlanta, and me. I think some people had him going to Washington.
But man, Atlanta was also stupid for going running back since they had.
Wasn't that the Bijan Robinson draft though?
Yes, that was.
So that's not exactly stupid.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
He's one of the better running backs in the league. That's
but
not.
Then again,
that's not on Cole Strange par.
Well, yeah, but now that we already have a general idea, well, now that we can pass the draft, let's continue with his story of being like, we can talk about his unfortunate situation as a rookie, which would explain why last season could technically be his rookie season, I would say, but I digress. So basically, if we take a look at who are the wide receivers that Gonzalez went up against in 2023, he had a really good start to the season. He had, if I can take a look at some of the stats before I pull up his stats from 2023, I would say. So basically, he had one interception on Tua. He was targeted 32 times out of 22. He was targeted 32 times. He only allowed 225 snaps, so it wasn't bad. He only let up one touchdown. He had three blitzes, one quarterback hurry. He had two pressures. He had one sack onto Jalen Hurts, which I did not think that Christian Gonzalez would do that, but that just means that we had zero pass rush, I would say, and we basically have what's left of Judon. And unfortunately, the injury to Gonzalez was against the Cowboys, where he had if I could take a look, he had a dislocated shoulder and a torn labrum requiring surgery, and that unfortunately ended his season. But that season, he was on PFF. He got a grade of an 80.8. So basically, he went up. His main competition, I think the reason why he didn't exactly do well, I say, he went up against AJ Brown. He went up against Tyreek. He went up against Garrett. And I would presume that he went up against CeeDee Lamb, but I just want to forget that season. But
he was on par to be D. He was on pace to potentially be D-Roy. I'm not sure. It was early in the season, and then that Dallas game, and that's when our season really fell apart in that Dallas game. Were we shut out? We were shut out, I believe, in that game. Or maybe it was
No, we were blown out, but the next game it was a shutout.
Right, against New Orleans.
And that time Christian Gonzalez wore 6 because I don't think
the Dallas game was 38-3.
Mm-hmm. And then Saints was 34-0. But now let's actually take a look at the stats from his very impressive 2024 season. Even though he performed a lot better as we expected, in spite of that shoulder injury that he had. I would say it was more of a. Oh, Molly comes in with a really good question. She would like to know, what is the difference between a blowout and a shutout. One of you can answer.
Austin, so go
yeah,
ahead. I've been chatting too much. I do know, but go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, no worries. So the difference between a blowout and a shutout is a blowout is typically one team just completely scores way more points than the other team, and then a shutout would be the defense of another team is so good that they don't let the other team score any points for the whole game.
Yeah, and it doesn't just include football. It includes all different types of sports. Like, I would say it's not the case for basketball because there's so many teams that score points, but in hockey and in baseball, 100%. Hell, even in soccer. But
Yeah, soccer. Yeah.
So a shutout, you heard Austin say a shutout. A blowout is when one team scores way many points, often by double digits than the other. A shutout is a type of blowout, but a blowout is not necessarily a shutout. There you go.
yeah. If we were like take a good example of like what a shutout is, even though it's technically not a blowout, go back to 2023, Las Vegas against Minnesota, where Minnesota scored 3 points on Las Vegas.
So I'm wrong though, because we lost a couple of years ago to Indianapolis 6-0. So that's not a blowout because we lost only by a low touch. Was that against the Giants? Might have been against. No, that was against the Chargers.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was against the Chargers.
It was the Chargers. It was 6-0. But that is. So I was actually wrong. That was not a blowout, but it was a shutout because we scored the big goose egg.
Yeah. But let's now take a look at some of Gonzo's stats. If I can pull up the PFF reference. So basically it will include every single game, excluding the final Buffalo game, because if I'm not mistaken, he was sat out in the Chargers game because he sustained a injury. I think it was a concussion. I could be totally wrong, but let's pull out that the game log. So this is all advanced defense during the regular season, and obviously we know why he never got to see what the playoffs look like because the Patriots were downgone bad, unfortunately. But if we take a look at this statistics, boys, why would the Jacksonville Jaguars game and the Tennessee game be like one of his worst games? Is it because Covington had zero clue of what to do on defense, or was it because Brian Thomas Jr. or Calvin Ridley knew how to take advantage of it? One of you can answer.
So my two cents would be, although I'm specifically remembering this from the Rams game where he didn't have Gonzo covered Uka for some inexplicable reason, but I'm not remembering. I think it might have been the Titans game, especially where Covington completely botched the defense. Did not use Gonzo in the correct way at all. I think it was one stupid game where we had. Correct me if I'm wrong here.
It was this game. Yeah, it was that game. It was so.
It was that game. Okay, cool. Where he just couldn't cover. Help me out. Was it Calvin Ridley?
Oh, that was the Tennessee. Yeah, the Tennessee game. Yeah, he couldn't. Yeah. I have no idea what Covington was thinking. It was either because he had like a bad game, or two, there was zero pressure from the defensive line. But what I do know with Christian Gonzalez, he went up against good wide receivers, and he went up against Chase, DK, Garrett Wilson, Juwan Jennings. I'm pretty sure that was the wide receiver one at the time because Ayuk was injured, Debo was injured, if I'm not mistaken, and then the Dolphins game, it was up against Tyreek Hill. And then that one game where he scored he got let a touchdown on was up against Stephon Diggs, so it was not up against Nico Collins. His
No,
worst game
he had a
was
fumble. He had a fumble 6 against Miami, the second game.
yeah, but the first game he got an interception off of Snoop, Tyler Huntley. It was he locked up Tyreek Hill, and then we know the Jacksonville game was we don't. This was not one to discuss, but
Exactly.
surprisingly,
Inexplicable.
the second Jets game he actually went up against Devontae Adams, while I think it was either John Jones or Marcus Jones who went up against Garrett Wilson. And needless to say that the other cornerbacks outside of Gonzo didn't perform up to their potential, unfortunately. So, and then we know about the Tennessee game. I don't remember who Gonzo locked up in the Bears game because there were so many good wide receivers, but it was between. I don't know if you can correct me on this, guys. Do you think he locked up DJ or Keenan Allen in that Chicago game?
I would say Keenan Allen because I think DJ's too fast for him.
Ditto. Yeah. Wait,
and then
you think Moore would be too fast for him?
I think Moore and Hill are. I mean, I know he can cover him. I just like Gonzo isn't a blazing speed corner. Like when we think about it, he's 6'1", 200. Like he's a physical, go up and deflect the pass. But I mean, it has been shown that he can get torched sometimes. So.
Yeah, Keenan Allen is. Yeah, that I vaguely remember that was Keenan Allen. Wouldn't have been.
Like I'd rather have Marcus Jones on DJ Moore than I'd rather have Marcus Jones on Keenan Allen.
Yeah,
so.
Marcus Jones does have. That's like I know in a horse race they'll talk about lone speed. I know I'm, kind of going on a tangent here. But on the defense, sometimes they'll talk about lone speed too. If you've got that super fast corner who can cover. Well, obviously we know they nicknamed Tyreek Hill the Cheetah, but
it wasn't the Cheetah this year because I felt like between Chase and Jefferson, they were the more better wide receivers than that legal issue bum, I would say. But if we continue forward, like. The second Miami game, that was on the offense for playing so stupid, which allowed Gonzo to get a fumble recovery and score a touchdown. That was a stupid play on Miami, but regardless, needless to say that Miami scored more points than us because our defense in general, outside of Gonzalez, didn't do diddly squat, and it didn't help that the offense couldn't generate plays. And then the Indy game where he got an interception off of, I think it's Antonio. No, it's Alec Pierce because I don't know who was on Michael Pittman, if anybody knows. Do you think
possibly
that probably Alex Austin or something like that? Maybe Gonzo. I don't know. I thought Pittman was hurt for some of last year, so it was mostly like Josh Downs kind of carrying that room.
Yeah, it was between Josh Downs and Alec Pierce. Imagine if we got Josh Downs in that draft, but needless to say, we got Pup. But Arizona, we all know what happened. He was locking up MHJ, who was touted to be the best wide receiver in that draft. He got a pass breakup in that end zone where we thought that MHJ would get a touchdown. Gonzalez made a miraculous play on defense.
Yeah, Marv had a touchdown.
Yeah. And then in the Buffalo game, I don't remember who he locked up against, but it would be between Amari Cooper, Khalil Shakir, or Matt Collins. It has to be one of those three. And then the Chargers game, let's not talk about the Chargers game.
Let's not.
But those are all like your typical stats for what Gonzo's season looked like in general. But let's since now we get a legitimate idea of what his stats are. Do you think that all of these stats made him like made him an All-Pro? I'll start off with you, Andy.
So do I think these stats made him a first team or a second team? Sorry.
No, just like All-Pro, just like All-Pro in general, regardless if it was like first team or second team.
I would say yes. Like Austin said, stopping your quicker receivers can be a task for him. We've seen it in a couple games. But I don't think I cannot name a cornerback in the NFL right now, except for maybe let's say Derek Stingley, or either Derek Stingley or
PS2.
Thank you. Who so consistently locks up a number one receiver. I mean, yes, or some number one receivers, not exactly Speedy Gonzalez completely. But yes, I do think, that routinely locking up the likes of Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, Marv, although he was a rookie last year, he was a widely touted one, possibly the most widely touted offensive player in the draft who was not a quarterback. He was. Yes, I do think, considering that, it would be worthy of an All-Pro selection. Austin, what do you think?
Yeah, I think 100% Gonzo is worthy of an All-Pro selection. Last year he was on pace for such. This year he ended up getting second team All-Pro, which cool, but we really want to see him take that next step and get first team All-Pro, maybe even Pro Bowl. I forget if he was even nominated for that this year. I know that's more of like a popularity thing, but yeah, like Andy was saying, I mean, he shut down people like Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Garrett Wilson, Deebo Samuel. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And he only allowed 2 touchdowns the entire season for 2024, and that was against the Jaguars, BTJ, and that was against the Jets, Garrett Wilson. Outside of those games, I mean, we're talking a couple catches a game for 30 yards. Like, if that's all he's letting up, I mean, I don't know how he's not getting the recognition that he deserves. I mean, I think he's incredibly mentally tough. He came back from that torn labrum in 2023 and played almost 1,000 snaps in 2024. I think he has really good recovery speed. I noted that he could get burned because of his overall speed, but he has enough flex at the hips and turn that he can oftentimes recover himself and catch up to those speedier receivers, especially if you have somebody like Tua turn the ball over trying to throw the ball deep to Tyreek. Then yeah, that ball is going to have a lot of hang time on it, so that definitely helps. And I'm hoping with the pass rush too, like he can just have like an out of this world season this upcoming 2025.
To clarify, Austin, the second touchdown, it was not against the Jaguars. It was actually against the Texans when I think Stephon Diggs scored.
So Gonzo's stats, it says the Jaguars and it says the Jets. So there's nothing saying that he was covering Stephon Diggs, which is a little weird. But
also, I looked up something that said he only allowed 1 TD.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, you could probably go on a couple different things, and they have their own versions of how they measure the metrics. And
yeah,
he was in the area, so we'll say he was the one that led up the.
But I think it might have been somebody. It might have been against Brian Thomas. It was not technically against Gonzo. He was just like in the zone. But
probably it was either. I would say it was on Kyle Duggar or maybe.
Yeah.
But then again. Needless to say, those two games were really bad on defense in general.
By the way here, guys, this was a post from September the 17th of last year, but it says this. Christian Gonzalez has only allowed 17 catches for 148 yards against, listen to these wide receivers combined 17 for 148. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Garrett Wilson, Jamar Chase, and DK Metcalf. Quote, Gonzo is elite. Locking up receivers with names like that, how do you say he's not elite? Dow, you're muted.
Actually, thank you. You're like Dustin, and by the way, I'm gonna say this again. Hopefully, Dustin returns because generally he would be the one who say it. But thank you for remind me, Andy. But I also was gonna say, needless to say, this upcoming season, the wide receivers that Gonzo might go up against, it's not as in the beginning of the season. It's not gonna be as bad as the first 3 games of the previous seasons. Like he's gonna go up against Myers. He's gonna go up against Hill again. And he's going up against DK again. But all of these are, if he continues to play on an all-pro season, and it's going to be a bit beneficial for him considering that he has more help in that cornerback room. So, yeah, I'm hopefully he can bounce back, regardless of how disgusting this defense was in a negative way.
Again, he only allowed a 40% completion rate last season. And again, this is saying he only allowed 1 touchdown. I can't find the data on who. Again, I think it was technically the Brian Thomas Jr. one he did not allow, but I'd like to find info on who that was.
Yeah, but let's get to the main topic because I think we've been scrambling around with like statistics as background story and all of this. But this offseason, I felt like Christian Gonzalez, for some oddball reason, has been considered to be one of the more underrated cornerbacks. But we know as Patriots fans, we consider Gonzalez to be one of like our best defense, like the best defensive player in the locker room before all of these free agents came along, and we all know the rest of the story. But do you think that Christian Gonzalez has been disrespected by the media in general, including the NFL, ESPN, PFF, Bleacher Report, Sports Illustrated, and Fox NFL? Do you think he was being mistreated and favoring all of these cornerbacks who excluding Derek Stingley and PS2, do you think he was disrespected because there's so much bias on these other overrated cornerbacks? I'll start with you, Austin.
Yeah, I think he's being outright disrespected. The fact that he allowed a 53.2% completion percentage last year, or either last year or 2 years combined.
It was 40% last year.
Yeah, so then it must be combining the two. But 40%, I mean, that's less than a coin toss. So you're telling me he's going out there covering number ones, and the quarterback has to flip a coin as to whether or not their freaking wide receiver is going to be able to catch the ball? I mean, that's incredible. Yeah, I mean, totally disrespected. You look at some of these other names, like I have my list right here. I mean, you have Sauce Gardner, which I assume is going to list way higher on the list for whatever reason.
So you have what list?
These are my own notes. I just compiled a list of like top corners in the league right now comparative to Gonzo.
Okay. Sorry if you wouldn't mind sharing it. My bad.
No, I can later. I'm sorry. I didn't. It's just my own thing.
No, you're good.
But right here, Sauce Gardner. I mean, like Sauce had back-to-back first-team All-Pros, and comparative to Gonzo, I mean, I feel like Sauce had a terrible year last year, but people are like, "Oh, Sauce Gardner." Pat Surtain definitely I think Surtain deserves to be above Gonzo. I think that's fair to say. I think Trent McDuffie, even just because of the success the Chiefs have had, I mean, you can make that argument. Then you start getting into like Jalen Johnson, who,
and then Marlon Humphrey, and then Denzel Ward,
Stingley, Ramsey. It's like those guys. I don't know how you're still putting those above Gonzo.
And yet they're getting paid like it, which I especially the JC Horn contract. And it was also reported, and I don't pay attention to the Jets a lot. It's been stated that they're going to give Sauce Gardner the biggest extension that you will ever see. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gardner was, I mean, I guess you could argue he was overrated coming into that draft, and he's overrated now. But yeah, Austin, I do agree with you that, I mean, yeah, the top 100 rah is all good, but he should, like I said, Dow, in our little intro, he should absolutely be top 50 when you're talking about possibly, arguably, the only guy ahead of him is Pat Surtain. A lot of the Chiefs' success, Austin, I'm sorry to say, is because of Pat Mahomes and that offense. I'm not saying Trent McDuffie has done nothing. They do also have Chris Jones. They do have Drew Tranquil, but inarguably,
And they also have
McDuffie
George
is
Karlaftis, the guy that
correct.
I would have gladly taken if McDuffie was off the board.
Is McDuffie, though, is their number one corner. So you can argue Gonzo is a top 3 cornerback in this league, which probably means top, I don't know, 30 to 40 players. So, yeah, I mean, your bottom 20 there. So let me just
if you're looking at who does more with less, it has to be Gonzo.
It has to be
because
Gonzo.
Pat Surtain has an all-pro defense, especially with them signing Halufanga and Dre Greenlaw. And then, like, the Chiefs' defense has been the backbone of that team for the past 2 years. Like,
2 years.
I know you want to say, like, Pat Mahomes.
But that was earlier. Mahomes was.
No, yeah. I mean, Mahomes
was just playing not that good last year. I mean,
and it also played into the fact that Steve Spagnuolo is the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs. But I was also going to say that Christian Gonzalez.
Spagnuolo, Massachusetts boy, by the way.
Oh. But then again, he owned us in like a couple of games we want to talk about. But I was going to say, Christian Gonzalez had nothing on defense. Defense. We had 0 pass rush, 0 run defense, 0 on anything. And then look at Garner on that other defense, which I find it to be the most overrated.
You had Quinnen Williams. They had
Quincy Williams. You had Will McDonald. You had DJ Reed. You had what's left of CJ Mosley, and then you had
Franklin. Oh, man.
Who's that other guy they traded to get from the Raiders that like didn't pan out?
I have no clue.
He's the edge rusher. Hassan Reddick.
Yeah. No, who? Oh. Not Hassan Reddick. Yeah.
Who was from? I was actually from the. Actually.
It could have been Eagles or whatever.
Yeah, it was the Eagles, but I think that the Hassan Reddick was a joke of itself. But
Hassan Reddick is now with the Buccaneers,
and he's holding out again.
But yeah, it was the Eagles to the Jets. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But Molly has a question for the both of us, and we'll all answer this. But would you say Gonzalez is as legendary as Tom Brady, but in a different position? I'll start with you, Andy.
That is a very, very, very good question, Molly. I think he's a little young to call him legendary yet. But let me tell you, Austin, Dow, Molly, whoever members of Pat's Nation are watching this live stream right now, under Michael George Vrabel, in 2 or 3 years, we will be saying Gonzo is a legendary cornerback. Mark my words. I mean, we're going up against a lot of good wide receivers this year. I mean, there's Jamar Chase. There's Jamar Chase. Let me think of who else we're going up against. We play the NFC.
We're gonna have to go against DK,
Godwin,
Evans,
London, Hill, and Waddle.
Oh, we're gonna go up against T-Mac.
Mm-hmm. Olave. We got Flowers.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
And
Jerry Jeudy, really? We do?
Browns.
Oh, yeah, he's a Brown now. Jeez, thank you.
I think it's funny that we're kind of going into the season going, oh, wow, the Bills' receiving core sucks. But they'll probably still be better than us.
It doesn't matter because I think I talked to Dan about this. It doesn't matter if you have like the best wide receiver core as long as you build the trenches.
Yep.
As long as you build in the trenches and you have the quarterback, and we know Buffalo have the quarterback, and we know Baltimore have the quarterback, and to be frank, we know Cincy have the quarterback. Although
Regardless of like the supporting cast.
we should do a stream on there is news on Trey Hendrickson.
But how about you, Austin, with this question?
No. I don't think Gonzo is anywhere near as legendary as Tom Brady. I think it's way too early in his career to put a label.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Now I sound like a twit.
No, you're good. You're good. I just think like Brady, he had to go through all those growing pains of like he wasn't the guy on his team. The defense did carry him for a lot of those things, and he was just more of a game manager. And then he slowly progressed into okay, now he's got Randy Moss and Wes Welker, and he's the piston that makes the engine run on that offense. And then towards the end of his career, he had to start being not just a game manager, but he needed to be smarter and know where the ball needs to go at what time and this and that and that and that. Like Tom Brady has 3 different Hall of Fame careers in one. Okay, if Gonzo can pull that off, cool, but we're talking 2 totally different positions.
Of course,
and,
jeez.
I think in terms of Gonzo being, because if we just want to scope it down to the Patriots on the grand scheme, I think his floor is probably Asante Samuel, and his ceiling is Ty Law. I think he could be that good. But, I mean, Asante Samuel wasn't a bad receiver. Bad corner. You know what I mean? It's just he didn't show up in the big moments. I want us to start playing meaningful football, and then I want to see Gonzo show up in the big moments.
Yeah.
So now, Austin, you've got me thinking again. I mean, so yes, he could be a legendary Patriot, depending on if he helps us win playoff games, if he helps us win Super Bowls.
And if he racks up all of these accolades.
Yes. Brady was, there was frequent talk that Gonzo would be drafted before we got him at 117. Brady was he had one of the most scathing draft reports on pre-draft analyses on any NFL player ever. He was the 6th round draft pick nobody wanted. They had to, Michigan, they had to decide whether it was him or Drew Henson. He was no lock to start. So yes, Austin, to be frank, I was putting my wishful thinking Pats fan cap on.
Yeah, we would. We're all in the answer. But to answer your question, Molly,
that is a very good question.
Yeah,
we know no quarterback will ever be Tom Brady.
Yeah, definitely.
To be frank, no player will ever be Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm. To answer your question, Molly, that I have 2 different answers, and they're all different. I would say yes, he will definitely make the Patriots Hall of Fame if he could have an impressive season with a better defense. I will say it's a 50-50 with Gonzo being as legendary as Brady in a different position, because the difference between Gonzo and Tom Brady was that Gonzo was drafted in the 1st round. Brady was drafted in the 6th round. Brady had to go through with like all these struggles with like what he had to go with next to nothing. Gonzo,
I'll be right back.
Gonzo, he was already gonna be like your starting cornerback regardless. So it could be a debate. Like we could do a future live stream on this topic if we want to say if Gonzo could be the next could be like Tom Brady but in a different position. But it will depend on it. Can he improve his gameplay this upcoming season? Is he worthy of getting that big contract that he might get, even though the cornerback market, I would say, has been skyrocketed ever since the J.C. Horn extension. And if Sauce gets paid like the top cornerback and it doesn't do shit, I'm going to laugh at the Jets and the Jets only because you gave one of the most overrated cornerback the most stupidest extension you have ever seen.
What was that contract?
No, if I'm saying, well, I need to look up this contract, but they haven't posted the contract yet. But I'm hearing rumors that Sauce is going to be getting a contract soon. Him and Garrett Wilson. But if it's the most highest paid contract that no cornerback has ever received, I will laugh at, and he doesn't do anything in this upcoming season. I will be looking at the Jets and the Jets only for how much you decided to waste all of your money for that overrated cornerback. And I'm saying, and we're all saying it at Pats fans, not. I don't know, Molly. Why would they extend a contract for a bad player? I have no clue. Like J.C. Horn, yeah, he had a Pro Bowl, but I don't think that I think he was overpaid. I think J.C. Horn was overpaid. And he was a Pro Bowler, but I think that was more of a fan voting, less so much on the scholars and all of like the experts. But that's the sadness. But let's continue with like the debate. With this discussion. Now that Christian Gonzalez is one of, I bet you he's gonna potentially be the only Patriot to be in that list. Do you think there are any other Patriots candidates that could potentially be in that list, or Gonzo's the only Patriot player in this list? I'll start with you, Austin.
Sorry, my headset was bugging. I was trying to fix it. What did you say?
Do you think that Gonzo will be the only Patriots player on that top 100 list?
On the top 100? Yeah, so I made some notes and I kind of was like trying to brainstorm who I think could maybe make the top 100 next year. And I think I projected Gonzo to be somewhere in the 60 range next year, which would be a good bump up from he's in the mid 80s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have Gonzo kind of sitting around there. Somebody else that I had listed was Keon White. I think if he can have a monster season with Milton Williams, he could end up on the top 100 list. I know Milton Williams will end up on the top 100 list somewhere on here because he was just that impactful this season, or this past season. Yeah, the only other one that I said could maybe is Ramondre, and that's like a bold prediction of like him losing weight, him like gaining all this muscle. Maybe he's going to be a lot faster than we've ever seen him, and maybe he can have a monster season at running back, especially with not having to tote the load. Like that'd be cool if he could be on the top 100. Out of all the rookies that we got for top 100, probably Henderson or Williams.
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if linemen typically, like offensive linemen, make the top 100, but I mean, if Will Campbell goes out there and has a crazy season, not letting Drake May, get hit on the blind side, I mean, I could see him somewhere on there. I mean, the thing with the top 100 and the Pro Bowls, it's so subjective because it's like voted on by the players and just kind of like analysts or like fans. So, we'll see. We'll see. But those are some predictions.
How about you, Andy?
Okay, cool. Sorry, Austin. I put it in the chat. I had to jog your memory on the cornerbacks list again. My bad. Outside of Gonzo, call me crazy. I think next year, I mean, depending on if he takes a big leap forward, maybe Drake May. It's just like there are so many other good quarterbacks rather in this league that's going to be super difficult. Stevenson, I'm sorry, Austin, I'm not sure I agree with you on Stevenson. Just because, I mean, yes. I mean, could he have a bounce back season? Yes. Would I love to see him have a bounce back season? Yes. But I mean, that's just, it's a waiting game with him for me. But I do think, I agree with you on Keon White. potentially in terms of wide receivers, if Stephon Diggs has that 1,000-yard season, maybe he could make it next year. But again, like with the quarterbacks, there's a lot of good wide receivers in this league to make that top 100 list. There's a lot of good defenders out there too. I mean, but I think Gonzo is obviously a logical choice for the top 100, but I realistically, maybe Keon White, maybe Stephon Diggs for me.
Might be the most underrated player that could potentially make the list. Do you think Brendan Schooler could make the list? Considering he was a first-team All-Pro, he made the Pro Bowl, and even though I know special teams generally don't make the top 100 list, but do you think Brendan Schooler could make the list?
I don't think so, because I think outside of New England, he's probably not appreciated in the same way that we appreciate him. Just because the NFL Top 100 is voted on by other players, I don't think there's a ton of players that are going to put Brendan Schooler over somebody like a Jamar Chase. Or granted, that's the extreme of the spectrum, but I don't know if I could see Brendan Schooler on here. I could see like a Marcus Jones, because if you want to see, I mean, not this year, but if we're going off previous years where he had some really good campaigns on special teams with some of those returns, like, yeah, I could see him making the list like that. But I think the way Schooler contributes, those stats don't show up the same way these other position stats show up.
How about you, Andy?
Brendan Schooler, I mean, I just think, I don't know, call me nuts here, but I don't think there's that much room for pretty much a sole special teamer on the top 100 list. I mean, when you're talking quarterbacks, when you're talking cornerbacks, wide receivers, running backs, etc. Brendan Schooler, he's proven to be a stud special teamer for New England the past few seasons, but seeing him on the top 100, I think, is a stretch. Marcus Jones, again, like you said, Austin, has made some really special teams plays. Schooler, I'd have to say probably not on the top 100 for him.
Yeah, that would be debatable, because I don't know if Matt Slater has made the top 100 list throughout his time. But these could all be debated, because I don't think that you would generally see a special teamer on the list, because it's generally like your big, and I say big like positions, like you go look at quarterback, running back, tight end, potentially offensive line and wide receiver, and then when you look at the defense, linebackers, defensive tackles, edges, and corners and safeties make the list. But when it comes to Brendan Schooler, yeah, he may be a great special teamer for the New England Patriots, but if you were to take a look outside of the New England Patriots, I wouldn't think that he would make the list. But that comes from development from like Jeremy Springer and then some of the other special team coaches. But when it comes to the grading, we all want Gonzo to be at least, as Patriots fans, to make at least top 50. But what key factors would you say that he could potentially be a top 50 cornerback if the situation
top 50 player?
Well, top 50 player. Excuse me. What am I talking about?
Okay.
Top 50 or maybe top 40 player in the league. What were the I would say key points that for this upcoming season? I'll start with you, Andy, and then I'll get to Austin.
Come again, I'm sorry. What's your question again? Oh, Dow. What's your question again? I'm sorry. I'm dead.
I would say, how can Christian Gonzalez make the 50? Could be top 50 or top 40 in the league this upcoming season?
I mean, pretty much keep locking down those number one wide receivers like he's been doing for that last year and a half, basically, or year and a quarter. Maybe add another pick 6 or 2. Maybe even add a little bit of speed, although naturally he's not a speedy cornerback. But ramp up on the. I shouldn't be saying overall defense, but like more the rough play, if you know what I mean. Fumble sixes, interception, picks, things like that. You know, it's all well and good that he's allowed so few yards to these good receivers, but maybe fewer average yards and more interceptions from me to make him a top 50 player.
How about you, Austin?
Yeah. So, like I said before, I think I could have him somewhere in the 50s or the 60s next year. But in order to do that, I think he's going to have to increase his uptake on interceptions, and in doing that, flashier interceptions. Because if you think a lot of these other corners, they may not have as good of stats as Gonzo, but they have that like brand name value where you could ask anybody like, oh, who's Jalen Ramsey? I guarantee you every kid knows who the hell Jalen Ramsey is. If you ask somebody who's Christian Gonzalez, they're going to be like, oh, is that a soccer player? Like, I don't know if he's had that it factor yet since he's been in the league to be put on that pedestal of, being a name brand and being one of the top corners. But I think I have to hear like, how can he move higher in 2026? Generate more interceptions and highlight plays, appear in nationally televised games or postseason matchups. So I definitely think like the success of him being higher on the list is going to be tied to the success of the team. And then like when we're on those primetime games, is he going to perform or is he going to, sink below? He needs to establish a reputation as a ball hawk, where right now he's a shutdown. So, if you throw to him, he's going to knock the ball out.
I'm so,
what?
Nothing.
Establish reputation as a ball hawk and not just as a lockdown technician. So I just want to see more interceptions out of him, kind of like Cam Chancellor. Like Cam Chancellor is like a super lockdown. And then I think a first team All-Pro instead of a second team All-Pro would really catapult him into being that, and then just seeing him become more of a leader on the field.
Yeah, we all wanted to see him as a leader on the field, and I generally this is going to be the final question for this discussion, because I didn't think that this live stream would be long. But to recap all of your points before we conclude this stream, I think Christian Gonzalez has the potential. I know that there's so much bias from the league that the Patriots have been one of the more hated teams in the league because of all these Super Bowls and whatnot, and because of Tom Brady's success. But if you have to look deeper, I think that Christian Gonzalez has been mistreated, regardless if he's like one of the best players in the league or not. I just feel like he's so underappreciated because there's so many other good cornerbacks, but I don't think that they have the potential as Christian Gonzalez outside of PS2. But if you have to look deeper into the mix, I just think that he has the potential. But this is going to be a waiting game to see if he can do it in the highest level. And especially, you have Carlton Davis next to him. Can he do it in these big games, like in the primetime games? Like he did have an impressive primetime game during his rookie season against the Dolphins, but against the Jets, I wouldn't say it was impressive. I just feel like the defense of itself just fell flat in and of itself. But then again, you're going up the next, all these primetime games this upcoming season could be flexed. So all of these might subject to change, but at the end of the day, if he could ball out during these games, I think that he has the potential. But that's going to be it today, guys. Thank you so much for taking your time and enjoying the stream. But please make sure that you smash the like button and hit subscribe. It's completely free and helps supports the channel. And as always, go Pats.
Go Pats.